Right then, grab a cuppa and settle in. This one's for all you lot over at Kent Business College, the next generation of site managers. We're going to have a chat about one of the biggest headaches in construction and how to sort it out for good. Let's crack on.
You know the scene. I'm sure you do. You walk onto a site and it's a complete dog's breakfast. The plumber's standing around waiting for the electrician who's waiting for the plasterer, and they're all tripping over each other's tools. Materials are everywhere, the gaffer's about to do his nut, and absolutely nothing is getting done on time. It's just organized chaos. But what if I told you there's a much, much better way?
So, before we get to the shiny new solution, we've got to understand the problem, right? We need to look at the beast we're trying to tame. This first bit is all about that, well, traditional and frankly messy way of planning things that leads to the nightmare we just talked about.
And this is what that chaos looks like when you write it down. With the old school schedules, you get this constant stop-start nonsense. A crew finishes a job and then they wait. Another crew can't even get started because the area is just choked with people and materials. And what does that mean? It means you've got skilled tradesmen, good people, getting paid to stand around drinking tea and waiting. It's a massive waste of time, it's frustrating for everyone, and it costs an absolute fortune.
But don't you worry. There is a hero in this story, and it's called location-based scheduling. Think of it less like a chaotic scrum at the bar and more like a perfect, orderly, oh so very British queue. Let's have a proper look at how it works.
Right, so here's the absolute game changer with location-based scheduling, or LBS as we'll call it. You stop asking, what task do we do next? And you start asking, where does this crew go next? See the shift? You're not just managing a massive to-do list anymore. You're actually managing the physical flow of your crews through the building. It's such a simple change in thinking, but believe me, it makes all the difference in the world.
And this sums it up brilliantly, doesn't it? Traditional planning is that chaotic scrum, a total free-for-all at the pub on a Friday night, everyone shouting to get served at once. LBS, on the other hand, well, it's like forming a single-file line for the bus. Everyone knows where they're going, everyone gets on in the right order, and there's no pushing and shoving. It's organized, it's civilized.
Okay, so it all sounds pretty good in theory, right? A nice orderly queue. But how do you actually make it work on a real muddy building site? Well, let's get our hands dirty and look at the nuts and bolts of it.
It really all boils down to just these three things. First, you get your project and you slice it up into logical, physical chunks. We call them locations. Could be floors, rooms, zones, whatever makes sense. Second, you figure out the production rate. That's how fast your crews can get the job done in one of those locations. And look, this isn't just guesswork, okay? You look at data from old jobs to get a really solid, reliable number. And third, you just make sure things happen in the right order. You know, the Sparky comes in before the plasterer. Just common sense, really. Let's make this real. Let's put some numbers to it. Imagine we've got our crew of electricians. After looking at their past work, we know their production rate. We know they can completely wire one whole floor of our building in 2 days. That number, 2 days per floor, that becomes the rhythm, the very heartbeat of our entire schedule.
And once you have that rate, the flow just becomes dead obvious. Day 1, the crew gets cracking on the first floor. 2 days later, they're done. So on day 3, they don't hang about, they move straight up to the second floor. 2 days after that, boom, they're on the third. There's no stopping, there's no waiting around, it's just this continuous, predictable production line moving its way up the building. And just like that, Bob's your uncle. Simple.
Now, you might be thinking, this is all well and good for a simple office block. But this way of thinking has been used to build some of the biggest, most complicated projects in Britain. So let's go from our simple little theory down into the deep, dark tunnels underneath London.
Yep, that's right. The massive Crossrail project, what we now know as the Elizabeth Line. I mean, think about it. Digging new tunnels and stations under one of the busiest cities on the planet, it doesn't get much more complex than that. And to manage all that complexity, they relied heavily on location-based scheduling.
Imagine each section of the tunnel as a location. You'd have one crew come through doing all the concrete work. Then, like a train on a track, they'd move on to the next section, and the mechanical crews would follow right in behind them. Then came the electrical crews, and then the finishing crews. It was like a massive, perfectly choreographed parade of trades flowing right through the tunnels deep under London.
So, by now you're probably thinking, this is brilliant. Let's just use this on every single job from now on. And you know what? It is brilliant. But it's not a magic wand. Like any good tool in your toolbox, you've got to know when to use it and what its limits are. So let's have an honest look at the good and the bad.
Right. On the plus side, it's an absolute productivity machine. You get less idle time, way less congestion on site, and it's dead easy to track your progress. You just have to ask what floor is the crew on, and you know if you're on schedule. Now, the tricky bit It requires discipline. Your production rates have to be solid and reliable, because if one crew slows down, it causes a traffic jam for everyone behind them. So it really demands a ton of detailed, proper planning right at the start. No winging it.
Listen, if you take only one thing away from our little chat today, let it be this. This is the heart of it. Location-based scheduling transforms your project from a jerky, disjointed list of stop-start tasks into one smooth, continuous flowing operation. It's all about creating a rhythm, a predictable pulse on the construction site.
So there you have it, a proper guide to location-based scheduling. As you head out there and start making your mark on the industry, don't just accept the old, chaotic way because that's how it's always been done. Look at the schedule. Look at the site plan and ask the one question that can change absolutely everything. Where's the flow? Go on then, get it sorted. Cheers.